Welcome to the news presented. My name is Jessie Kalambo. The headlines. Head and bones of 35-year-old Isoka man eaten by stray lions, buried. Persistent sewer blockage angers Kamwala residents. Stolen baby presented before court as evidence in child theft. Bali criticized for foreign trips. Persons with underlying conditions quickly developing in severe pneumonia from COVID-19, Ministry of Health. And now the news in detail. Some residents of Lusaka's Kamwala remand area have complained of a blocked sewer network in the area that has left a fecal effluent flowing. The residents have told MUVI TV News despite reporting the matter to the Lusaka Water and Sanitation Company over a month ago, the problem remains unresolved. One of the affected residents, Ivan Chanda, has called authorities to come to their aid as the situation risks the breakout of diseases such as cholera. However, Lusaka Water and Sanitation Company Public Relations Officer Nshamba Muzungu promised to investigate why the sewer problem remains unresolved.
Overflowing sewer has affected residents in Lusaka's Kamwala area and are living in fear of disease outbreak. According to the residents, this problem has been caused by blocked main sewer pipes that are passing through the area. The residents said despite reporting the issue to the Lusaka Water and Storage Company, the problem remained unresolved.
Water and storage is so bad for checking sewer vanilla facility. Because vana like you can see vana vangali affected. So that vana makasiya, vana makasibira my parents. As opposed to have months because this is a date. Wafu kupolanga na water and storage wa checking yako wachifasi kuduri chintu chikaro kwa at least chatanza ko bantu because chibainda na kubainda. Obakonzero wabonekere ko bantu pagati batanzire ku chakala 2 months ofwasa.
Tiko na problem mkono yaso Kamwala Kamwala Baluvale Kamwala tiko na problem yaso emo na kwati mwana so watufuta hapo maizi watufa yaso so
the residents have also complained of lack of response from their leaders.
Ona wevonika vingi MP afunkaoneka council afunkaoneka maona
abwa checking up abwa problem
mutango nkala chekuja wapo ngabanje manje
abwa checking up abona ko vintu vanvilile
nise tunavotela ndise bantu bake
ona like manzi manongo mazikira bonse ni dot yechoka mtoyi isuwa yonse suwa.
And when contacted for a comment over the matter, Lusaka Water and Storage Company Publications Officer Shamba Muzungu promised to investigate and establish why the problem remained unresolved. For MUVI TV News, I'm Afias Kaptula in Lusaka.
The 2021 Financial Intelligence Center FIC Trends report has reviewed a continued increase in various suspected financial crimes, indicating an increase in the value of disseminated intelligence reports from 3.14 billion kwacha in 2020 to 3.56 billion kwacha in 2021, representing a 13% increase. According to the report, the majority of intelligence reports disseminated were on suspected money laundering, corruption, and tax evasion. During the year under review, FIC also notes the number of currency transaction reports increased to 145,852 compared to 129,826 in 2020, representing a 12% increase. The report has partly been attributed to the unusual volume of cash transactions conducted before and during the August 2021 general elections. FIC has since observed that the main drivers for the suspected financial crimes remain weak institutional arrangements and a large dependence on the usage of cash in transactions.
The Financial Intelligence Center FIC has warned that the country remains vulnerable to money laundering and other associated financial crimes in its released 2021 FIC Trends report. almost across all reports submitted to the center, it recorded increase. The report has disclosed that in 2021, FIC analyzed 211 suspicious transaction reports, STRS, out of which 44 intelligence reports were submitted to law enforcement agencies. The value of these reports grew by 13% from 3.14 billion kwacha to 3.56 billion kwacha. The number of current transaction reports received also increased to 145,852 reports compared to 129,826 in 2020, representing a 12% increase. Suspicious transaction reports equally increased from 2,577, a 13% increase compared to the year 2020. The banking sector accounted for the highest number of suspicious transaction reports at 2,522. According to the report, there was, however, a decrease in the analyzed suspicious transaction reports during the period under review. The report indicates that most of the intelligence reports disseminated were at investigation and prosecution stage. To this effect, in 2021, the Zambia Revenue Authority ZRA accessed 47.8 million as a result of dissemination made by FIC, compared to 63.3 million accessed in 2020. Other reports include current transactions, individual transaction, among others, with many done in Lusaka and in local currency. The report has further indicated that in 2021, a total of 55 bank accounts held with 8 commercial banks were frozen to allow for further verification and analysis. The amounts involved were $30.3 million, 292.9 million kwacha, and 1,685.31 euros. The major trends observed, partly attributed to the 2021 general election, was the unusual surge in usage of cash, the purchase of real estate, high-value motor vehicles, cyber fraud, among other trends, were also observed. During the same year, the report also highlighted some of the suspected corruption, money laundering cases, including suspected corrupt activities by public officials, suspected abuse of office, some of the cases that ended in acquittals and nolle prosequi. Prominent influential persons, private individuals, and lawyers were some of the figures at the center of these cases. FIC has since recommended that government should consider introducing a limit or threshold for cash transactions. Other recommendations include limit or threshold for payment for public goods and services, competent authorities to enhance collaboration in the value chain of investigations and prosecuting money laundering and terrorism financing cases. For MUVI TV News, I'm Afias Kaptula.
The head and bones of a 35-year-old man of Isoka district, Machinga province, recently attacked and eaten by hungry stray lions on the Isoka-Myombe road have been buried. 5 days ago, police in Isoka picked up remains of Innocent Siwale of Kazilamawe village in Chief Kafwimbi's chiefdom after he was killed by lions on Saturday. Recently, stray lions have been terrorizing citizens in various parts of the country, creating panic and anxiety.
Remains of Innocent Siwale, who was killed and hurt by stray lions, have been put to rest. Both Isoka District Commissioner Cons Chivula and Isoka Member of Parliament Major Nakaponda were in attendance.
We have finally buried the remains of Innocent Siwale, who was killed by the lions.
The DC also explains on human-animal conflict.
Wangwa National Park in Chama North is not fenced. As a result, animals are freely terrorizing the human beings. Like the situations that has actually happened, I'm appealing to the Ministry of Tourism to look into this matter.
Relatives demand compensation for the loss of Innocent Siwale.
Tukita compensate sweswe kama kuvinyamana kwa sese twatulipilisa ma 20 million nokutunya pinyaka 20 bachinyama nene mwanika hapa twati no isunda lifweliweko ndala manga mwawe cheskayo kuka umuntu wa muntu konga ndama ikaliye kaunda kuli muntu weko kwa kuli chinyama cha mpanga so wazawali wakale chesi yave kunyama ya mpanga kwa wasiwe chesa ku muntu kwa
amawa nyasuya yampeni vote so mwatu avwauli pamiso ya wantuwa.
And Isoka MP Marjona Kaponda calmed down the angry mass at Kazirama Cemetery.
A feedback. Ukulu sukuti yasukangu kutumfia yawe yakulosya. Wote nukuti tutanga tuche compensate soswe tutama nyavyo ovyo. Tuama nyakuvinyama. Zivinyama jachinda mukulu sumuntu. Ani watanga wasuke wangalande vinyukuti nivwa. Leka ninje kunkolelo. Na baba yenge uifikiri tenga watafuzilo mwasi nyene.
On Saturday, around 19 hours, the angry lions killed and ate him, leaving only head and bones, which have been finally buried on this grave. Richard Simbaya for Isoka district in Mchinga province.
An agricultural expert in Zambia, Chance Kavaji, has expressed concern at the depletion of forestry in Zambia. Mr. Kavaji discloses 270,000 hectares of land is cleared every year. He has, however, commended the Mafinga community for the virus mitigation ventures of replanting trees.
A role for every citizen to create a climate resilient and intervention strategies. Already, Mafinga residents in Mchinga province have embarked on a tree planting exercise. This has attracted an agricultural expert, Chansi Kavai.
Last season, as you very well know, we had this very serious drought which affected most of southern half of this country, especially southern province, western province, and some parts of central and eastern province. This phenomenon is here to stay. As you know, we are cutting trees every year to the region of 270,000 hectares every year.
He adds,
and if we continue doing that, then we should continue expecting to have bad weather effects in Zambia and indeed the whole southern region of Africa.
And Mafinga District Forestry Officer Collins Banda says 8,000 seedlings are already set for pine trees.
The reason why we have come up with this initiative of a nursery, we saw it nice that the community, they demanded for it, because in the past, people used to go to the neighboring country, Malawi, to go and access these pine seedlings. So there was a lot of demand from the community that we should take up this initiative of coming up with a tree seedling nursery.
One of the volunteers, Forest Department in Mafinga District, explains on the importance of planting and caring of trees.
Vikuni vikusungirira maji, vikuni ni vikulenga vya iwele rubiro. Vikuni vikusunga mabriki, vikusunga vutabriki windi kumutunga.
A youth farmer, Kondwani Simkoko, praises government for bringing closer to them the pine trees.
Tiyo wagonga boma chomene chomene chifukwa cha kutetera makuni ayotamba kupanda sono chifukwa cha kuti makuni mtondo yali kumala.
Surely it is time to rise up and save our environment. Richard Simbaya in Mafinga District of Mchinga Province.
We now go for our first set of commercials. Still shortly.
How to use your home Airtel Money wallet when traveling across Africa. Step 1. Get used to a new place. Step 2. Learn the language and culture. Step 3. Pay your bills in a foreign country using your home Airtel Money wallet. Airtel Money. Instant, secure, borderless.
As COVID-19 cases keep rising, many business entities are affected and their revenue keeps going down. But together, we can fight COVID-19. Rumpi Enterprises provides you and your organization the safety you require in these hard times of the COVID-19 pandemic by using effective disinfectants procedures such as knockdown and residual disinfecting that helps prevent and get rid of COVID-19. We do knockdown and residual disinfecting procedures for homes, offices, hospitals, churches, and many more. Protect yourself and the people around you. Get your business running with our powerful trusted disinfectants. Call Rumpi Enterprises on 0955 767835 or 0955 992230 or come to the third floor, room 3, Tazara House, corner of Dedan Kimati and Independence Avenue. Follow us on Facebook, Rumpi Enterprises Limited. Always remember to observe the COVID-19 guidelines. Mask up, sanitize, social distancing, and staying.
Hello my people, lelo kuwina pa new deal game show ni dividi kipiti na numbers ya ngati ya bidi kubwera kuwina drama up to 2000 kwata imwe ni lelo osati day nangu so ngati mufuna kuwinako jailingani star 265 star 13 275 star 5 hash sending ngati muna 6 kwata or more. Jailingani star 265 star 13 275 star 3 hash sending ngati muna 4 kwata or more mu mobile money account yanu. Olo jailingani star 265 star 13 275 star 2 hash sending ngati muna 3 kwata or more imwe. Lelo ni dividi madiongo tupasa tabe ma 50 ma 70 ma 100 ma 50 ma 70 ma 100. Join the winning team imwe. Enter. The more you enter, lelo madrozi ni angati ya bidi up to 2000 kwata so ikugwira lelo. Enter. The more you enter, the more chances you have of winning. Makwata enter.
Welcome to the news. The Lusaka Magistrate Court has set 8th and 29th July 2022 as dates for commencement of trial in a matter where a judiciary official and 4 others accused of child theft pleaded not guilty to 1 count of stealing a child. This is in a matter in which witness NLS Chizondi appeared in court to testify how a baby went missing from Lusaka's University Teaching Hospital, UTH. It is alleged that on 7th May 2022, the 5 accused persons, while working together, did steal a child below the age of 18.
Magistrate Court has set July 8 and 29 as dates for commencement of trial in a matter where 5 accused persons pleaded not guilty to 1 account of child stealing, contrary to the laws of Zambia. This is in a matter where witness NLS Chizondi appeared before the Lusaka's Magistrate Court to testify how the baby went missing from the University Teaching Hospital in Lusaka. She explained how the infant went missing on the 7th May this year when she was asked to get the baby upon being discharged. It is allegedly believed that on the same day, the 5 accused persons worked together to steal the baby from the hospital. Presiding over the matter, Magistrate Hampungani adjourned the matter to the date set for commencement of trial. Carolyn Mwanza reporting for MUVI TV News, Lusaka.
President Hichilema has come under attack from the opposition because of his frequent trips abroad. President Hichilema is currently in Kigali, Rwanda for the 26th Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, marking his 19th foreign trip since taking office in August of 2021. But leader of the opposition, Brian Mundubile, has described the trips as a drain on an economy that is already in distress. Speaking at the media briefing at Parliament in Lusaka, Mr. Mundubile says the Minister of Foreign Affairs should address the House on the significance of the trips and the size of the entourage. He further expresses worry the new Dawn administration that promised to fight corruption and govern by the rule of law can with impunity ignore the advice of the Attorney General on the cancellation of concession hunting licenses. Mr. Mundubile warns the government will lose colossal sums of money should the affected parties decide to drag the government to court. He has also appealed to the government to adjust the recent purchase prices for various agricultural produce such as maize.
Is spending so much on presidential trips that may not be exactly beneficial to this country. We raise a red flag like we're doing now. We think that there's been so many trips, we have not been informed what the likely benefits are, if any. So going forward, we would want to know so that we can evaluate as to whether the money that should be used on trips could easily be added to the floor price for maize and take it to 250 so that farmers can benefit. Or that money could be used for medical supplies, as it were. Zambians must be given an option to be able to evaluate and see how the resources of the nation can be used and utilized prudently. It's matter on the floor of the House that it will be very important that each time the President undertakes a trip, we expect the Minister of Foreign Affairs to come to Parliament and render a report outlining the possible benefits of these particular trips that are undertaken by the President. And further, we would also want to know the size of entourage that the President goes with and who exactly was in his entourage. I want to tell you that just 2 days ago, yesterday I received a call from a colleague that was concerned. He happened to have been on the plane with the First Lady, and his concern was the size of the entourage. And yet the New Dawn government had informed us that the President travels with the lean team. That may not be true. So what we want now is that when the President goes on a trip like that, Minister of Foreign Affairs must come to Parliament and render a report outlining exactly what the possible benefits are from that trip, and indeed who traveled with the President, what purpose they were serving on that particular trip. Because what we see from the report that I got from a colleague of mine who happened to have been on the plane,
the Ministry of Health says it is cautious with the high number of symptomatic COVID-19 patients presenting to health facilities. Health Minister Sylvia Masebo says a high number of persons with underlying conditions are quickly developing severe pneumonia from COVID-19. In the last 24 hours, 188 new COVID-19 cases were recorded out of 3,211 tests conducted countrywide.
Here this time, we had a high incidence of COVID-19 and related deaths. We remain hopeful that the COVID-19 will eventually be a public health event of the past. However, while we remain hopeful of continued and improved epidemic status in the country, we are cautious of the continued hospitalization of many people with underlying conditions co-infected with COVID-19. We note a number of persons with underlying conditions quickly developing severe pneumonia from COVID-19, and when treated late, the outcome is not always good. I wish to emphasize that it is important to get to the nearest healthcare facility whenever unwell. Allow trained healthcare personnel to determine the cause of your illness so that you are treated correctly and timely. We will continue to increase testing of persons presenting in our healthcare facilities, along those presenting with symptoms in the communities, at points of entry and contacts to known cases. This is in order to timely diagnose and accordingly those who are infected with COVID-19 or indeed any other ailments for that matter.
We take another break. Still to come as more news items. Do not go away.
The past 2 years have been a time of learning new ways of doing business in a new world, and many businesses are hungry to create new linkages. The Zambia International Trade Fair provides a platform for you to engage with the world, showcase your product, share ideas, learn from others, and get recognized for your innovation. It is also a place to get away and be entertained by various acts. And this year's Back from COVID affair has got bangers lined up. We are not taking this return lightly. The trade fair will be high energy, high performance, high engagement, and high trade. Come on, grab a stand. Let's get back to business and take back the years that COVID has taken.
Place a bet, search on the web, or get the app. OneXBet Bookmaker Company.
Grandpa, will you please tell me a story?
This is the source of all good stories.
Ah, Grandpa, but that's only today's Daily Mail.
This newspaper has all the stories you need to know. Did you know that Zambia got its independence in 1964? And guess what? This newspaper covered the story. It was called the Central African Mail then. It also covered the story of Chiluba, re-ushering Zambia's multi-party democratic system. Sometimes this paper brought us sad stories. Other times it brought us great news. But this paper goes beyond facts. I got my first job by looking at the job advert section of the newspaper.
Wow! This paper really has everything.
Yes, it does, my grandchild. And this is the story of Zambia.
Zambia Daily Mail, without fear or favor.
How to send and receive money to and from other networks. Step 1. Get some fresh air. Step 2. Say hello to a friend and save his time. Step 3. Bail a bro by sending him money directly on his phone. Airtel Money. Instant, secure, borderless.
Here is a missing person announcement. Jennifer Chanda, 66 years of age, was last seen on the 18th of June 2022 in Mtendere, Lusaka. She was wearing a brown jersey, chitenge with mixed colors, and a scarf. She resides in Lusaka and is fluent in Bemba. If seen, please contact 0975 559 200 or 0978 635 247 or 0960 747 469 or report to the nearest police station. Here ends the announcement.
Welcome back. We'll continue with the news. The Prince of Wales, chairperson of the Commonwealth, Boris Johnson, says developed countries have an obligation to help vulnerable countries to cope with the catastrophic effects of climate change and COVID-19, which threaten the whole existence of humanity. Prince Charles observed that in many countries people continue to suffer from COVID-19 while millions die from the devastating effects of climate change such as trauma, floods and droughts. The Prince, who represented Queen Elizabeth at the official launch of the 26th Commonwealth Head of Government meeting, which was also attended by President Hakainde Hichilema this Friday in Kigali, Rwanda, noted that the Commonwealth has built a family of friends that can work together to respond to issues of climate change and the COVID-19. More in the following report.
Commonwealth Summit being held for the 60th time in Africa, and President Hakainde Hichilema has attended this high-level meeting in Kigali, Rwanda. It is being held for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic.
The Commonwealth we need is on the front lines of global challenges, not on the periphery, watching events unfold. Our special strength is to bring issues into focus that might otherwise be overlooked.
COVID-19 and climate change are the major issues that threaten the existence of humanity.
Posed a common threat to all humanity, and the same is true of catastrophic climate change, who can see the incoming tide surging ever higher up their beaches, threatening to inundate their villages and towns, and in time, the entire landmass.
The tremors of conflict and instability in our world, the spiraling costs of food and fuel, economic uncertainty, threaten a serious and protracted crisis. This struggle is first and foremost an opportunity to find answers to these questions.
The Prince of Wales, Prince Charles, observes that COVID-19 and climate change now pose the biggest threat to Commonwealth countries.
As we build back from the pandemic that has devastated so many lives, as we respond to climate change and biodiversity loss that threatens our very existence, and as we see lives destroyed by the unattenuated aggression of violent forces, such friendships are more important than ever.
President Hakainde Hichilema is scheduled to attend closed-door meetings with other heads of state. He arrived last night aboard the presidential challenger. The head of state was received by Rwanda Minister for Justice, Zambia's Permanent Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Isabel Lemba, and Defense Advisor Brigadier General Musonda Mtila. Krupekila Nkunika Fozani in Kigali, Rwanda.
Zambia Tourism Agency Senior Marketing Manager Doris Kofi says new strategies have been employed with regards to advertising the country to international tourists. Speaking in an interview in Livingston, Ms. Kofi says before the pandemic there was a total of up to 1.2 million tourist arrivals in the country. In the course of 2020, the number dropped drastically due to restricted travels by countries. She notes the tourism sector being one of the most affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. There is hope of having the industry bouncing back.
The team has taken a lot from different sectors. The country, the tourism sector, one of the most affected, has lost a number of tourists, hence losing out on income generation. However, Zambia Tourism Agency Senior Marketing Manager Doris Kofi says numbers had reduced vastly during the COVID-19, but it improved in the course of last year.
You asked how we are marketing tourism during COVID. I'm sure you all agree that ever since COVID happened, it made a lot of changes to how we do things, and the same thing applies to how we market destinations, including us marketing Destination Zambia. So whatever messages we are using to promote Zambia, we always have to incorporate what COVID measures are in place to prepare our visitors as they make those decisions to come to Zambia. If you notice, many of the destinations now have scrapped the requirement for a PCR test to all travelers and have segregated those into two.
Ms. Coffey says despite this drawback, there's optimism that there will be a bounce back in the sector and boost the economy as more tourists come into the country.
For filming, since COVID happened, I think that we are bouncing back steadily. Before COVID-19, the total tourist arrivals into Zambia had actually reached 1.2 million. And when COVID happened, 2020, we went down to 501,000 international arrivals. As of 2021, we have recorded 554,000. This is an increase of about 12%, an increase of about 10%. When we look at the regional performance, Africa as a whole, in terms of tourist arrivals, we notice that on average, Africa increased tourist arrivals by 12%. So our 10% performance is not far from the regional average. And also when you look at the Victoria Falls, the number of tourists coming into the Victoria Falls, as of 2021, we are standing at 123,000. Before COVID, we were just above 160,000. The only dynamic now is that we have more domestic tourists going into Victoria Falls than international arrivals. So there's been a step up in terms of domestic tourism, which is good because it needed to be awakened. And COVID came, it awakened domestic tourism, and we see that the rise of tourist arrivals is not only in international traffic but also domestic travelers. When you go into the national parks, some of the national parks like Kafue National Park have actually posted growth as high as 89%. That also speaks to how much travel is rebounding in Zambia.
With new changes in COVID-19 guidelines, the tourism sector, which is a contributing factor to the drive of the economy, will once again be up and running and generate more income for the country. Prudence Mtalo reporting for MUVI TV News in Livingston.
Chief Hamusonde of the Tonga-speaking people of Wengwa Southern Province has asked the government officials not to prioritize his area in terms of development just because President Hakainde Hichilema hails from the area. The traditional leader warns that such maneuvers has the potential to divide the country. Chief Hamusonde stresses the need for equity and a fair distribution of developmental projects. He was speaking when the Minister of Community Development, Doreen Mwamba, paid a courtesy call on him at his palace Friday morning. And Mrs. Mwamba says her ministry is working hard, ensuring funds are meant for social cash transfer reaches the intended beneficiaries. New Heritage Party President Chishala Kateka has opted to remain tight-lipped on the sentiments about the United Party for National Development UPND Presidential Advisor for Special Duties William Banda, challenging her to state what hunger she meant during her recent one protest. Ms. Kateka recently protested against what she termed the high cost of living in the country and the resultant hunger. This saw Mr. Banda challenge her to state which type of hunger she referred to, since she is a lady. However, when reached for a comment, Ms. Kateka refused to comment, saying Zambians themselves will judge and make their conclusions over the matter. United National Independence Party says the party will decline rogue party members. This comes shortly after it was announced the party president, Bishop Trevor Mwamba, was suspended. Party spokesperson Reverend Andrew Mwima says that Bishop Mwamba remains a president. He has advised those with grievances to follow the laid-down procedure.
It's still intact. Because one thing we must know, we have a constitution. UNIP has its own constitution, and we have procedures how to go about certain decisions that are being made. So the people who are saying they are suspending the president, dissolving Lusaka province, We wonder what they were talking about, because that was just a small group of people who are disgruntled, and they're trying to bring discord and cause confusion to the party. As it is right now, the main objective, like we have always said, we are rebranding the party UNIP and mobilizing it. And one thing we can encourage most Zambian youths is that UNIP is being rebranded to be inclusive and to make sure that the youths take part, or the central stage in our politics. If there are people who want to contest, because UNIP is a democratic party, let them wait for the next 5 years. We're going to have another national congress. From the actions they've taken, constitutionally, they've expelled themselves. Yes, they've expelled themselves, and maybe if they have any ambitions or resources, let them start their own political party. Zambia is a democratic country. UNIP is not the only party that is there. There are also other opposition parties. If they so wish, let them join. There are many more political parties they can support, and we build the nation of Zambia together.
We'll take a break. See you shortly.
How to send Airtel money to any Airtel Money wallet across Africa. Step as you send money to any Airtel Money wallet across Africa. Airtel Money. Instant, secure, borderless.
Grandpa, will you please tell me a story?
This is the source of all good stories.
Ah, Grandpa, but that's only today's Daily Mail.
This newspaper has all the stories you need to know. Did you know that Zambia got its independence in 1964? And guess what? This newspaper covered the story. It was called the Central African Mail then. It also covered the story of Chiluba, re-ushering Zambia's multi-party democratic system. Sometimes this paper brought us sad stories. Other times it brought us great news. But this paper goes beyond facts. I got my first job by looking at the job advert section of the newspaper.
Wow! This paper really has everything.
Yes, it does, my grandchild. And this is the story of Zambia.
Zambia Daily Mail, without fear or favor.
Welcome back, and now the rest of the news. Opposition Gordon Party of Zambia has described the relations that 13% increase in the number of suspicious financial transactions during last year's elections in the country, where campaigns and elections are highly monetized, as extremely disturbing. Party President Jackson Silave says the Financial Intelligence Center report risk becoming an academic exercise in the alleged illegalities do not result in tangible convictions in the courts of law. Mr. Silave has since urged the relevant law enforcement agencies swiftly swing into action. The opposition leader has since called on government to further address gaps at law, such as the use of gatekeepers to conceal beneficial ownership and investment of funds in construction, real estate and offshore centers cited in the report. He says Zambia's development process will be accelerated when financial integrity and discipline discipline is at the core of the country. Parent Teachers Association chairperson at MUVI Sata Girls Secondary in Isoka District, Muchinga Province, has appealed to well-wishers to be of help to exiting educational facilities. PTA chairperson John Nakapiku says the schools are lacking a lot of things despite receiving grants from the government. He says soon schools will start war games competitions without proper sports attires. Mr. Kapiku revealed this when he saw a Member of Parliament Marjorie Nakaponda gifted the school with jerseys and balls. We'll end the news on that note. To recap of the top stories. Head and the bones of 35-year-old Isoka man eaten by stray lions buried. Persistent sewer blockage angers Kamwala residents. Stolen baby presented before court as evidence in child theft case. Bali criticized for foreign trips. Persons with underlying conditions quickly developing in severe pneumonia from COVID-19, says Ministry of Health. Thank you so much for watching the news. Continue enjoying the rest of our programming.
Grandpa, will you please tell me a story?
This is the source of all good stories.
Grandpa, but that's only today's Daily Mail.
This newspaper has all the stories you need to know. Did you know that Zambia got its independence in 1964? And guess what? This newspaper covered the story. It was called the Central African Mail then. It also covered the story of Chiluba, re-ushering Zambia's multi-party democratic system. Sometimes this paper brought us sad stories. Other times it brought us great news. But this paper goes beyond facts. I got my first job by looking at the job advert section of the newspaper.
Wow! This paper really has everything.
Yes, it does, my grandchild. And this is the story of Zambia.
Zambia Daily Mail, without fear or favor.
Istana ya Afrika ya kubende chalo Akamwana kanono no msepela kuikala chapamo Kuribe kumunzi kuribe mutauni kumero Ayenze afunika
The Zambian statistics will this year conduct census across the country. The census on people in households, rural and urban, hospitals, police and correct facilities. This number